The river did not announce danger with noise or fury, it whispered it. Cold water slid over stones like a blade drawn slow, carrying with it a woman bound at the wrists and chest, her police uniform darkened by blood and river silt, her breath coming in shallow bursts as the current tugged at her knees. Each second stole a little more strength, and the log jam ahead looked like a wall closing in. The moment felt final, the kind that ends quietly while the world keeps moving. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unseen strength of ordinary people, please take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are waiting. Upstream, beyond the bend where willows leaned into the water, lived a man who had learned to be invisible. He had come to the river years earlier with a single duffel bag, a scarred past, and a German shepherd who walked like he knew the weight of silence. The men rose before dawn, chopped wood with methodical calm, and spoke to no one because words reminded him of commands and consequences. He was a former Navy SEAL who had learned how quickly bravery could turn into loss, how loyalty could be rewarded with absence. The world knew him as reclusive, the river knew him as steady. His dog knew him as home. That morning, the shepherd froze mid-step, ears sharpening toward the water. The men felt it too, the disturbance in the current that did not belong to wind or fish. He scanned the bend, eyes trained by years of reading chaos, and saw the unnatural angle of a body drifting sideways, snagging briefly on stones before sliding free again. Rope bit into dark fabric. A flash of red on a pale forehead caught the light. The men did not think of uniforms or jurisdictions or the distance between the life he had and the one he left. He thought of timing. He thought of angles. He thought of the dog beside him, already pulling toward the bank with a low, urgent sound that vibrated through his boots. The water was colder than memory. It wrapped his calves, then his thighs, numbing without mercy. He waded diagonally, cutting across the current, the shepherd tethered close, paws finding purchase where human feet slipped. The officer's eyes were open, unfocused, tracking the sky as if it might help. The log ahead surged and thumped with debris, a blunt promise. The men reached her just as the river tried to spin her, the rope around her torso pulling tight against the pressure. He braced, drove a shoulder into the current, and with a practiced motion hooked an arm beneath her, keeping her face above the water while the dog positioned itself against the pull, a living anchor with a will of iron. It took time. The river tried to steal. Fingers fumbled with knots slick with mud and blood. The shepherd leaned in, steady and sure, weight shifted just enough to counter the surge. When the rope finally gave, the officer sagged, and the men caught her fully, dragging them toward the shallows with every ounce of discipline he had left. They collapsed against the stones as the log thundered past, close enough to spray their faces with icy mist. The river, thwarted, continued on as if nothing had happened. On the bank, the officer trembled, consciousness flickering like a candle in wind. The men worked without ceremony, checking breathing, pressure, the cut on her forehead that had painted her face with fear. The shepherd pressed close, a warm flank against cold, a quiet presence that seemed to tell her to stay. When her eyes finally focused, they locked on the dog, and something in her expression shifted from terror to disbelief. It was not just rescue she saw there. It was precision, partnership, and a calm that felt impossible in the chaos she had just escaped. The story spilled out later in fragments, pieced together as strength returned. She had been escorting evidence along the river road when a vehicle forced her off, hands rough, rope tight, water rising. She had counted breaths, bargained with memories, prepared for the end. The men listened without comment, staring at the current that had nearly taken her. He did not correct assumptions about who he was or where he had come from. He did not explain the way the shepherd's training mirrored his own, the silent cues, the trust built from shared nights and scars. He simply did what he always did when a crisis passed. He made tea. He wrapped a blanket. He waited. News traveled faster than the river. A rescue like that does not stay quiet, especially when it involves a uniform and a dog that moved like a professional. Deputies came. Medics came. Gratitude arrived loud and awkward, carrying questions that pressed at old doors. The men answered what was necessary and nothing more. He watched the shepherd accept a gentle hand from the officer, tail thumping once, a concession to connection. Something inside him loosened, just a fraction. It surprised him how much that mattered. In the days that followed, the river felt different. The men noticed things he had trained himself to ignore, the way neighbors waved from across the road, the way the shepherd lingered at the fence as if waiting for the world to do something else worth noticing. The officer returned once, healed enough to walk, her steps careful on the stones. She brought a simple thanks that did not demand explanation. She brought a badge number written on a scrap of paper, not as leverage but as a bridge. The men took it and felt the weight of choice again, the kind that scares more than bullets because it asks you to live. He did not rejoin the life he left, and he did not remain entirely apart. He found a place between, volunteering quietly, teaching search techniques to a small unit that listened because the shepherd listened too. The dog became a story children told each other, a legend with pause and a patient gaze. The river kept whispering danger, but it also whispered continuity, the way water remembers every stone and still moves forward. Near the end of this story, if it touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these moments of courage and compassion ripple outward, reaching people who need to remember what humanity can be. And just before we close, we have a special request for you. Please comment the word river if you believe that one brave choice can change a life. The officer went back to work. The man learned to let morning light reach him without flinching. The shepherd slept with one ear tuned to the world, ready but at peace. On a quiet bend where willows lean in, the river carried on, no longer just a place of endings but a witness to rescue, to second chances, to the shock of goodness arriving exactly when it is needed most.